Our issue segment tonight. The war on Confederate monuments continues. Around the nation's state statues commemorating Confederate soldiers are being removed, sometimes by city governments, sometimes by protesters. Here's the thing. You don't have to support the Confederacy to be worried about the dangerous precedent being set here by leftists who want to rewrite history. Watch.
James Dukes is calling for the mayor and Chicago Park District to remove the name of not only George Washington, but also Jackson Park, named after President Andrew Jackson. Jackson, as you know, was the 7th president of the United States. Dukes says they should not be held to such esteem and considered heroes when they participated in the slave trade. He says the changes could be as simple as naming the parks after African-American heroes like Harold Washington, Jesse Jackson, and Michael Jackson. He explains why the statue should come down.
It represents, on one hand, a hero to some, a forefather, a revolutionary. But then for us of African-American descent, it represents a person who owned 317 slaves.
Do you think the average person, though, who looks at this statue and when they're in Washington Park, thinks of slavery with President Washington?
Because that's the lack of information and knowledge, and people said we could use this statue as a way of teaching history, but all our history books never accept the president as that.
With me now, former professor at Vanderbilt and author of The New White Nationalism in America, Dr. Carol Swain. Dr. Swain, thanks for being here. Dr. Swain, tell me, do you think if we remove every single Confederate monument in this country, there's about 1,000 of them left, is that going to magically unite us?
No, it will make us even further divided. And I find it so unfortunate that this is the issue of our day when there's so many problems affecting the white community, the black community, all of America. And instead of actually engaging in constructive dialogue about the real problems that are affecting Americans, we're dealing with socialism.
And I mean, we're hearing calls for every single monument to be removed. We're even hearing calls for Mount Rushmore to be removed. And the argument is that some African Americans in this country feel that these monuments are, the equivalent of Hitler. When they see these monuments, they think that's Hitler. Do you think that is that a good argument?
It's not. And so you have a few spokespersons making that argument. And I think that most likely for Mount Rushmore, that what's behind it is a compromise that would probably put Barack Obama's face on the mountain. At times, these leaders will agitate for extreme measures as a way to negotiate for something else. And right now, it's very unfortunate that they're just so focused on the South, the Confederate monuments, and there's no logical stopping place. I do believe that as more and more institutions and states give in, that will only fuel the movement, but it also creates a lot of hatred and resentment from white people who would otherwise be indifferent. And there is a problem with trying to judge historical figures using the moral sensitivities of our day, applying the political correctness of our day to historical figures.
Yeah, Dr. Swain, you have to connect the dots here. I hate to see this conflict and division in 2017. I never imagined that we would be at this place and this point in time. And maybe, it's magnified by social media. Maybe it's magnified, by the media in general. But I have to point out that under Barack Obama, race relations got a lot worse. And you would think that with the first African-American president, we would be 100% united as a country. And what I noticed under Obama was that he was dividing us rather than uniting us. And Dr. Swain, you wrote a book actually foreshadowing what was going to happen. In your book, you called this white nationalism that was going to erupt at this point where it's in the spotlight.
Yes, but, it's a reaction to the politics of our day and many grievances that white people have, that their voice is not being heard. But when it comes to Barack Obama and the people who went to Washington with him, they were clearly cultural Marxists. And all Marxism is about dividing people, and that's what we've seen in play. And if I were a race war, I would do exactly what Barack Obama and the Democrats have been doing over the last years. And what's happening now is focused on white supremacy, white nationalists, Donald Trump calling him a nationalist. It's about trying to discredit that presidential administration, but also the allegations about Russia have proven to be a nothing burger. And so I believe the political left sees an opportunity to distract the nation, the president, by using this. And it seems to be working. And I think it's so unfortunate that people who agitate, who disrupt, who disrespect the Constitution and the rule of law, they get rewarded. They get rewarded by our attention and also by the fact that they can dominate deadlines and people give in because they're too afraid to stand up. Now is the time for Americans to stand up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And you touched on something, and I do think this was intentional. You just, got to read Saul Alinsky, and, it's that strategy of divide and conquer, and that's what we're seeing. And growing up in a bicultural family, we didn't see people by their race or their skin color or anything. My mom always told me we're all equal. And what we hear from the left all day long is they're racist, they're racist. I've been called racist and alt-right because I am a Donald Trump supporter and I'm a Republican. So. And I've been called that by white people. I'm like, I'm a minority and I'm a woman. Leave me alone. I'm not a racist. I care about border security. I care about our economy, and I care about our freedoms. And and that's what I believe. And thank you so much, Dr. Swain, for your wisdom. We got to run.